People. Hopefully, people can start to see us now. This is the first time using this piece of software, so I am hoping it's working. So, my name's Scott Whitney. I'm joined by Gavin Neat. Let's start off, Gavin, if you don't mind, giving a bit of a visual description of yourself, if that's okay.
It's interesting. I noticed as soon as I signed in today that I'm pretty much a negative of Scott. So he's wearing a white t-shirt and I'm wearing a black t-shirt. I've got a grey beard and white hair, and he's got black beard and black hair. So there's obviously an age thing going on here. I am 55 years old, and white and black t-shirt, white hair. That's it, really. Big smile on my face, as always.
Awesome, yeah, and I've got, as Gavin said, a white t-shirt on, a lot of facial hair, white male with very short hair. So we're here today to talk about Welcome. So first up, you've got a bit of a challenge on at the moment, Gavin, and I think it's best just to start there. Can you tell people what
Yeah,
that
cool.
challenge
I'll
is?
explain a little bit more about what Welcome is later, but the challenge is quite an interesting one. So ultimately, Curry's, I was having a chat to Curry's a few months back now, February, and I did what most people working in disability say. They go, "Oh yeah, of course, it's 274 billion pounds that the purple pound is worth, and very few people are accessing it. It's really important that you do." And Curry's turned round to me, the great guys there, and they went, "Can you prove it?" And I went, because most people working in disability make it as a statement and go, "Yeah, it exists. Yeah, it's really important that you engage with it." And he went, "Well, can you prove it at all?" And that then set the wheels in motion for this work that I'm doing with Curry's, where Curry's have set up my solution in 40 of their stores, and they have said it's now open. People can use it. And if you can get a certain number of people to use it and give positive feedback, which is a test in itself, if you can do that, we will look at a national rollout. And the service is something that helps disabled people get better customer service. So I'm a big fan of All for Inclusion, and Scott obviously knows what I do. And he said, "Gavin, we need to get this out there. Do you fancy having a little chat and you can tell people about Welcome and tell people about your challenge?" So yeah, that's where we are. That's what we're doing.
Awesome. So there's going to be some people here who don't know what Welcome is. It's their first time, and I've been kind of saying it's bringing businesses and disabled customers together, but actually it's like a little bit more than that. That's just my strap line. So,
Yeah,
do you want to
cool. You're right.
describe Welcome for people?
Yeah, so I'll do a bit of a what, why, and how. So, what is the ability for disabled people to communicate need before they meet a staff member? And for many disabled people, that can be incredibly easy or useful. So, if somebody is hearing impaired, they can say that they're hearing impaired in advance, so they don't have to say it in the moment. So it just means you can break down barriers earlier. If somebody's deaf-blind, they could say what they wanted to buy instead of having to then struggle potentially with a staff member who doesn't necessarily understand their needs, or indeed for that disabled person to have to pass that over to a PA or a family member or a friend, so that they can do all of that interaction in advance before they arrive somewhere. But background, I worked for Guide Dogs to the Blind for 18 years as a mobility instructor, and one of the things I noticed was that immediately after my client had gone into one of their shops to interact or buy something or whatever, I would then have to go up to the staff member and just say, "Oh, next time, could you do this and this and this? Because it's to make it, don't talk to the dog and introduce yourself, and that'll make it much, much easier." And the staff member would say, "Oh yeah, no, that's really useful." But I had no idea whether they would put it into practice or not. Eventually, where I could, what I used to do is I run ahead of my client. I would go into the shop and I would say to the staff member, "In a couple of minutes' time, a guide dog owner is going to walk through the door. Now they're going to approach you. I'm not involved, but it would be great if you did this, 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 and this, because that's going to make it a lot easier for the two of you. And then I would stand back and watch, and they would give brilliant customer service, and my client would go, wow, that was brilliant customer service. And I just thought to myself that with the amount of problems we have in customer service, with the turnover of staff, what training do people get and what training do they manage to maintain? And this in the moment training just seemed like it was a really good way of making sure that people got good customer service. But the other aspect of it that became really obvious to me was that if the disabled person dictates what they want, they're in charge. Rather than me as a professional saying, this is what you should do, if the disabled person says, this is what I need, and it might be, I don't need anything. It might be, I have epilepsy and it'd be great if you knew first aid, because I would feel more comfortable if I knew that you knew first aid. Well, if the disabled person is in control of that relationship, then the staff member is already serving more than they would do if they were just sort of like waiting and trying to deliver something. So that led me in 2015, after 18 years with Guide Dogs, to leave the organisation because I couldn't deliver this solution at the same time, and set up my own company. And then in 2018, end of 2018, we launched Welcome. Welcome was a way for the disabled person to communicate with a venue before they arrived at the venue. Now, they could communicate that they just wanted staff to have a general awareness of disability, a bit like a sunflower lanyard, but discreet, i.e. you're not wearing it around your neck. Although, I love sunflower lanyard. If you choose to wear a lanyard as well, no problem, not a problem. But you could discreetly say, I need you to have an awareness of disability. But for those disabled people that might need specific help, and I mentioned before deafblind or hearing impaired or acquired brain injury or somebody with Tourette's or a stammer or epilepsy, if letting staff members know that you were living with a particular condition could trigger training, then I wanted to be able to add that in. So we also added that into Welcome. Now, to start with, the system, we had 5 venues in Edinburgh because the company was Scotland based. So we had Royal Bank of Scotland, we had Edinburgh Airport, we had printmakers, and we had a hotel, and we had Scottish Parliament. But it took us time to build up more and more venues. We now have over 240 across the UK, including all the Northlink ferry terminals, Irish Rail, East Midlands Rail at Derby Station, City of Westminster Council put it in all of their libraries and leisure centres, Battersea Power Station Shopping Centre, Westfield Shopping Centre, Stratford and London put it into their customer service teams. In Coventry, we have it on all of the CV Life leisure centres and swimming pools, and Coventry Transport Museum. Just about to launch with Silverstone Museum. We have it in Visit Scotland. We have it in Glasgow Science Centre, Scottish Parliament. We're actually building it out to all MSP constituency offices to help people visit their MSPs. So it's just growing in every single environment where there is the opportunity to be met by somebody who could be better informed. This is the opportunity for a disabled person to have that communication in advance. They don't have to do it, it's totally up to them, but it can be useful for certain people, and those are the people that we're trying to help. So that's what Welcome does, but how does it actually deliver it? Within the system, and I'm going to show you very briefly in a second, once I get to the end of this particular question, rather than just talking for an hour solid without Scott getting involved. What it does is it gives a photograph of the person, if they want to add a photograph, a name, whichever you want to be known by. It also gives an overview of a disability, which is like, what is acquired brain injury, what is epilepsy, what is diabetes, what is visual impairment, what is being an assistant guide dog owner. It then has top tips on how to interact. So we normally have between 5 and 8 tips, which would be introduce yourself, have your back to a light source, have your light source on your face if somebody's going to be lip reading. Just really simple stuff that you would get for any from any charity that was describing how best to interact with somebody with a disability. But the fact is that appears on the screen the day before you arrive or the morning before you arrive. And then last thing, we have 3 links to the charity that has provided us with the information. So Epilepsy Action gave us a link to a really fantastic 2-minute first aid video. So potentially all members of a particular team can have watched that video in the morning. In fact, I've seen that happen recently with Roman Vindelander Fort in the Borders in Northumberland. So that's what Welcome does. That's why it does it. We're now spreading across the UK, and as I mentioned before, we're working with Currys. And I'm sure Scott's got a question that might lead on from that, or any observations immediately, John. Why am I calling you John? Scott. I think I spoke to a John earlier today. So any questions, Scott, based on what I've said there?
Well, no, I think, I better just put up my name just
just so I don't call you John again. I've known you for years. Why am I calling you John?
just to remind you of who I am.
Love you, man.
No, so I guess, it's kind of built out, and we're coming to like a really exciting stage for Welcome. But what is it that you need, or what do you need from other businesses, the disabled community to push it on that next step?
So in general, when I started, we had 5 venues, and I was just asking friends if they would go along and try it. And we got more and more people trying it. Then we started launching with more organisations in different parts of the country, and I didn't have friends in those parts of the country. So it was like, if somebody was using it, I'd write to them and say, thanks very much for giving it a shot. Let me know what you think, if there's any improvements you think we can make, because it's all about nothing about us without us within this. This is about how we can improve it based on what people want. But this year we've launched with East Midlands Rail, 13 Levi's stores, from Manchester all the way up to Glasgow, including Dublin and Belfast, but just recently launched with Currys. Now, Currys started the first part of the trial in the West Midlands, and there are 20 stores in the West Midlands, all offering Welcome. But because a lot of those stores are in retail parks, it made it quite difficult for disabled people to get to the stores. So they asked us, because we had a really good success rate in the first trial, but they wanted more proof. They said, what if we were to do 20 stores in London? And I will share a list of all the different stores. But if you can imagine the centre of London all over, from Oxford Street to Croydon to every part, Battersea, there are Currys stores everywhere. All of them have got Welcome in. What we're looking at doing is getting as many people with as broad a spectrum of different conditions and needs and specifications to go to these stores before the end of August. It's actually imperative. Currys said to us, if you can prove that people want better face-to-face service, we will provide Welcome. If you can't prove that people want better service, if you can't prove that they're not just wanting to stay at home shopping on Amazon, then there's not really any need for us to deliver it. Now, we didn't get a long period. We had 2 months to actually deliver this, and I'm sure we'll get longer if we can show real, like if we got 45, they're not going to suddenly say, no, you can't do it. We're not going to do it. But if I can get people through the door in either the stores in the West Midlands or the stores in London, specifically London because that's this part of the trial, but happy with the stores in West Midlands, then we can prove to Currys that disabled people have a need for awareness of disability within staff members. They kind of know it, but what we're delivering, as I've explained, is the ability to know exactly who the person is and how best to help them or how best to ignore them when they walk through the door. So that's the ask. As many people in London using Welcome before the end of August. We've got 3 weeks to deliver that. But then, of course, anybody using Welcome anywhere in the country, because it's yours, it's free. We don't collect data. The only data we do collect is if we're looking at an airport and there's 100 people use it in a month, we'll say 20% were hearing impaired, 15% were autistic, just to be able to help them give a better service to the numbers of the people coming through the door. So that's the only data that we really collect in the service. As I say, it's totally free. We don't need your home address. We don't need credit card details. It's all about the delivery of service for you.
Yeah, and someone's put in the chat that the posts that they see are mainly sort of Currys promoting Welcome. Should there be more people? But I guess that's because of the challenge that's on at the moment. That's where the big sort of drive is. But do you know how much or the businesses that use it at the moment, do you know how much they put out or what their advertising is?
Yeah, so um, when we started it, we were the ones advertising it. But increasingly, what we did was say to our businesses, you need to advertise it. And part of that, because we are an app, but we're a web app. So you go to a website. We used to be a downloadable app. We're now a web app. And the reason for that is because we can integrate then into their website. So we actually have 10 visits a day across the country of people going to particular sites because they're accessing it through the website. So examples for that, all the Northlink ferry terminals. If you go to a Northlink ferry site and you say, I want to get a ferry travel, they will have a link to welcome so that they can say, oh, do you have any access requirements? Because you can let us know what they are in advance. So they just click on a button and then they can fill that in. The same for City of Westminster Council with libraries and leisure centres. The same with CV Life. It's on their websites. These places get more people than anywhere else because they're advertising it through their websites. So it is going to get bigger and bigger. It's going to spread across the country. We're the only solution of our type currently in the United Kingdom. There's nobody else doing it. So if they haven't got Welcome, they're not providing proximity-based training as we do through this service. But ultimately, this is about disabled people using it, if they like it, using it again and telling other people about it, and also suggesting where they want it. So if you live in Bath, we don't have any venues in Bath right now. If somebody was in Bath and they said, I want my local council to have this, they should have it in the library or the leisure centre. If you recommend it, if you say to us that you want it in your council in Bath, we contact the council in Bath and we say, hey guys, we've had 1, 2, 5, 10, 20 people say that if you have this, they're more likely to visit your venue. Then we'll get them on board and you'll have the opportunity to use it. Now, I'm a big fan of people power. If 1,000 people wanted this in IKEA, IKEA are going to have it. Because IKEA are like, well, wait a second, we're going to make more money of selling Swedish meatballs if more people come through the door. But that will be a person-led. And a very good example of that, one lady in the Highlands of Scotland said she wanted her MSP to have it in their constituency office. And 2 weeks later, it went live in the constituency office. And just a couple of weeks ago, they met. And the lady, her MSP, was Marie Todd, knew that she had a mobility, used a mobility chair or frame before she arrived, and knew she needed a chair when she arrived. And then when she arrived, she knew exactly what she needed, and the staff knew what she needed. So it was spot on. Another one, somebody walked into House of Fraser, was a blind chap, stood there for a couple of minutes, nobody came to speak to him, and he just left. He requested it, and within a month, House of Fraser in Edinburgh had Welcome. So it's people power. The more people that want it, the more it will spread and the more people will use it.
Yeah. So obviously it's giving staff on the spot sort of training. You said that comes from charities, and are there any spots where you want to kind of either work better with charities or get more information, and how do people kind of say, look, I've got this condition, but everyone with this condition is so different. I really want to get my kind of support over to people.
Yeah, so if you were saying signing up, as I say, you can put in general awareness for disability, and that's absolutely fine, and that means you are just saying, please be more aware. But when we started it, we kind of started with that, but people would say, oh, I'd like somebody to know a bit more about visual impairment and what that means. But we add new conditions on all the time, and I'll come closer to your point in a second, but we added fibromyalgia on recently. We also added stammer on, because when you've got a stammer, how somebody interacts with you can be really useful. If they've read about that beforehand, also really useful. However, we've also got in the platform the ability for you to specify anything particular you want somebody to take into consideration. Now you can use that for Currys to say, I'm really interested, I'm doing some study into the best laptop and I want to know about the accessibility features, or I need a kettle that's easier to hold on to. Have you got one that's been designed to make sure that the grip is easier to handle? So you could specify what you want to do and how you want to do it when you get there, but you could also add in, I need a seat when I arrive. Be really nice if I'm sitting down in a quiet place talking about this instead of standing next to it. If you were able to provide a glass of water, because that would be useful. I've got to take some tablets. Or I might not need the toilet, but really useful if there was a toilet that I could use, and you would know about these things in advance. And I'm going to demonstrate it very quickly in a couple of minutes' time, so we're going to get a run through how somebody might book a visit and plan a visit. But you can add in anything you want for them to actually be able to provide better service. And I say anything, it could be, I'm coming in today at 2 o'clock, ignore me. Don't approach me, I'm going to come in, I'm going to pick up the item, and I'm leaving. If that's what you want, that's what you specify. It can be quite annoying when somebody comes up and they've just learnt a bit of BSL and they're just desperate to speak to you for half an hour and practice it. So I totally understand that. And it could be somebody who's neurodiverse, is like, when I go shopping, I don't want somebody up in my face trying to sell me stuff. I want to go in, pick up the thing I want to buy and leave. So all of that is possible with this system. It's your system, you decide how you want to be served.
Excellent. So Stephen Archer has put in the LinkedIn chat. Would it not be more practical to roll this out through some mobility stores first, because they're more likely to engage, see the benefits, and this will then provide that data required to support the wider use of the scheme?
So yeah, when we started, it's a great question. When we started, we were pretty much, well, it could go everywhere. Who's going to be interested? And we approached lots of different people, and we had real success from some and no success from others. Mobility stores would be an absolute perfect one for us to approach. But one thing we found very early on is when you do cold calling and you say to somebody you've got something that they want to buy, it's a very challenging route. However, if somebody says, oh, my local mobility store could use this, we will contact them, let them know about it, let them know there's already interest, and then it's a much, much easier conversation to have with them. Yeah, when we started 5 venues, but now 240 across the UK in every single sector, museums, art galleries, gardens, shopping centres, Levi's stores, Curry's, it's growing all the time. But yeah, when I spoke to CAB the other day, I want it in citizens advice bureaus. I think that would be a corking place to have it. But when you've got, we reckon there's about 600,000 businesses in the UK that could use this. You can only do what you do at the start. It's worth mentioning there are only 2 people in my company, by the way. There's only 2 of us delivering this, and we've managed to deliver a lot. So yeah, I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to recommendations and requests. But yeah, we do our best with what we've got.
So look, you're probably itching to start sharing it. Do you want?
Yeah, I think I've used the first time I've used this system, but I think it should be pretty easy. I'm sharing my screen, or I'm going to try and share my screen. Oh, it's the same setup as normal. Okay, so please let me know if I'm sharing my screen.
Yeah, you got it on there, mate.
Okay, right, cool. So on the left-hand side, I've got the venue. So this is just our demonstration venue, but it could quite easily be any of our venues, but this is the welcome demo venue. On the right-hand side, I have got your profile. It's my profile, but it's going to be your profile on this particular occasion, or it'll be mine. So here's my profile. This is the information that I hand across when I sign up. And we're going to go over this later, but the place to sign up is my.well-co.me, and Scott will share that in a few minutes' time. But it's my.well-co.me, and then I fill in my profile. So I get to put in a picture. I can change that whenever I want. I put my name in. Don't have to have my surname. It could be Gavin Neat. It could be Mr. Neat. It could be Mickey Mouse. I put in my email address, and I put areas that I want customer service to have awareness. Right at the very top here, we've got a discrete general awareness. I could click that and click nothing else. However, I want the people in this particular store, this venue, to know that I'm living with epilepsy. And I also want them to know that, let's put in, actually, I think ataxia is a good one, because there's a super video that goes with that. So we'll keep epilepsy and we'll take out mobility and pain. So I can then press save, and that is my profile. That's all I really need to do to have a profile on Welcome. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to look for some venues. There are different ways to access venues, but this is if you go through my.well-co.me, and I'll show you another way towards the end. So this is me looking for a venue. These are all alphabetical. But if I click on this button here, I can show which ones are closest to me. So if you were in London, and you clicked on all West Midlands and you clicked on this button here, what will happen is you will see the venue that's closest to you. Now I'm in Buckingham today, so I've got Coventry, 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 and then Leicester, yay, Currys in Leicester, and then Wembley Stadium Currys, and then Staples Corner, because that's obviously the closest venues to me. But all the way down to Marsham Court Hotel in Bournemouth, and some venues in Stornoway and Orkney, obviously, because of Northlink ferries, but plenty on here to do with London, because of obviously me being close to it. But what I'm going to do is search for a venue. So Welcome's our demo venue, so I put that in, and I can click on that venue. In here, I have two sections, venue access and general information. If I go into venue access, this is basically the stuff that they've got that's going to be useful to me to know about. So I know they've got automatic doors, they could lend me a wheelchair in this imaginary place. They've got assistance guide dog or assistance dog amenities like water or a toileting area. They could give me sighted guide, there's a customer help point, and there's a changing places toilet or an EV charger like there might be at hotels or an office. So these are the things I know from this hotel, or this venue rather. I can then click on general information. This is a bit of a deeper dive. This is a little bit of awareness about who they are and what they do and how much they want my custom. It could be, we're in a hospital, we're in Golden Jubilee Hospital in Glasgow. So it could be a hospital saying this is where the hospital is and what we do. Here it is with a map and the opening times of this venue, and also links to Access Able in case there's a statement, or Ewan's Guide in case somebody's done reviews, or Sociability, again, for reviews, or it could be their own page on how accessible they are and what their policies are, etc. Right, I want to plan visit, so I'm going to plan a visit on the 9th, Friday the 9th at 11 o'clock. The venue is now going to ask me a couple of questions. Some venue asks questions, some venues don't, but they set the questions. So here's a question, what are you planning to do on your visit? I'm wanting to buy we'll say a laptop. But it could be I'm needing to use a toilet when I arrive. You can imagine it could be anything in there. A doctor's name, it could be I want to buy a pair of trousers, depending on the venue. Is another super one for hotels. I was demonstrating this to a hotel the other day. Would you like us to go over your personal emergency evacuation plan? Yes, please. It's my first visit. I'm a bit nervous. As an example, you can write anything you want in here. I then click next, and it says what do you want to do on this visit. There's a bit of repetition here, but I'm looking at laptops. I need to study their accessibility. Oops. Apologies for both my poor spelling and my poor typewriting skills. Buy one. Okay, so there's my message, and I need the accessible toilet. I wouldn't be able to tick it if it wasn't available, but if it's available, I can tick it. Braille, whatever, wheelchair loan, I could click whatever that. Now, I'm not going to press confirm yet, because I'm going to log in as if I was a member of staff. So I've now logged into the platform at app.well-co.me instead of my.well-co.me, and I'm now looking at the visits for the upcoming visits, one at 12:30 today where the person has arrived. But back to Gavin, who's just about to plan a visit. I'm going to press confirm. That sends a message directly to the venue to let them know that I'm coming. Now this isn't until tomorrow, but they are going to get a message that tomorrow somebody called Gavin is coming at 11 o'clock. They get an email, they log in, they click on that, and they go, here's a picture of Gavin. Gavin wants me to know a little bit more about epilepsy and ataxia. Gavin has been here a lot. That is how, literally, I have now demonstrated this platform 1,433 times. Here is an accept button. I'll come back to that in a second. But Gavin needs to use an accessible toilet, needs access to Braille that we said we had, and would like to borrow a wheelchair. He's looking at laptops and needs to study their accessibility features before he buys one. As I say, he needs to buy a laptop and he's needing to use a toilet when he arrives, because there is one. And he needs to go over his personal emergency evacuation plan. These are just examples only. Under that, I have, for epilepsy and ataxia, an overview of the condition. And then for epilepsy, first aid. So if I had a seizure while I was at this particular store, they've had a chance to read up about it. Now, these are links. One's to Epilepsy Action's main page, but the other one is to a video on what to do if somebody has epilepsy or a seizure. Typical guy. Of course I do. Remind me. So I did a visit to a Roman Vindolanda fort the other day, and I asked all the members of staff if they knew anything about epilepsy, and all of them had watched this video that morning of my arrival. So I was like, wow, that's the best you could. I mean, as a reminder of something they might have done in the past, but it's a brilliant aid memoir to that. So they get access to all that information for epilepsy and for ataxia. Very similar, just a very simple overview. And then top tips on what you should do when you meet somebody. A lot of the top tips are repeated over each of the different conditions, as you might imagine. Always introduce yourself is something that's universal. But then there's a What is Ataxia video that's provided to us by Ataxia UK. And this will pop up in a second. I love Dan and Tallulah. I've seen that video so many times. They are absolute superstars. Okay, so each venue gets the opportunity to have that access. If you say that you just want general awareness, it's just general awareness of disability rather than anything specific like learning about ataxia, but that's totally up to you. This is about choice. Okay, so we know there's no problem at all with Gavin coming. We click accept. That sends a message back to Gavin to say that we know you're coming. My anxiety levels go down a little bit because I know what was pending is now going to pop up here into accepted. I'll just hasten that by refreshing the screen. That's now been accepted. If I now click, I think it's this one. If I now click on that, we're now imagining this is tomorrow. When I arrive outside of this particular store, or indeed if I'm inside, it could be a hotel, it could be a train station or an airport or a hospital, I can press a manual arrival button and say where I am. So I'm at the main entrance. They've said they'll come and meet me. That has now sent a message to the venue to say that I've arrived. So they now know that I'm at the store. They can have a quick read about what I need. Oh, yep, that's Gavin. He's needing to buy the laptop. Remember we learned a bit more about ataxia? Guys, does everyone remember epilepsy today? Really important. You'll probably do that morning when they arrived and opened the store. But everybody will be like, yeah, brilliant, we're on the ball. We understand what we're doing. Within 24 hours, Gavin is going to get the opportunity to provide feedback. He will get an email that says how well did they do. He can then fill in comments and feedback on how well staff did so that we can give staff members a pat on the back, but equally a reminder if they didn't do something that they maybe should have done or something that would have been useful to me. The other stuff in here is for the venue. Resources is just how to use it, how to use the system, but all of the information, and this is key, I think, to Welcome, all of the information from all of the organisations can be accessed whether a disabled person is using the platform or not. So a staff member could go, do you know what, it's Autism Awareness Week next week. They can click on that and they can get a little bit of information about autism and also the Amazing Things Happen video, which is brilliant. If you haven't seen it, go on YouTube. Amazing Things Happen, superb autism awareness video. So staff have access to all of this information anytime, not just when somebody's booking or planning a visit. The other thing is that when somebody has used the system, that staff member has raised awareness in general of disability, and there's a very good chance that the next disabled person who walks through the door is going to get better customer service because what we've done is raised the ability level within that staff member. If they had 6 people through the year using this service, learning about different conditions and disabilities, or indeed just raising their awareness of disability, that staff member is going to get much, much, much better and also pass that information on to other team members. So that is Welcome. I did say I would quickly show you how it's used within, so let's just say we'll go to CV Life. So this is the one in Coventry. This is, because it's a web app, this is the ability for people to use the platform directly through a website. And I know City of Westminster Council do this and some of our other venues do it, but people who don't know about Welcome my.well-co.me, they might just be going to CV Life, go to the Access for All page, and then they've got access to Welcome directly through the website because it's integrated into their website. And the person here would just log in, put in their email and their password, they would log in, and then they have access to all of the venues on the platform, just as I did have on the right-hand side. So Alnwick Castle, Academy Sport, Westminster Council, Alnwick Gardens, Battersea Power Station. So lots and lots of stuff in there. I have a couple of videos that I'm going to share with you later, and Scott can share out with everybody, and you can see how to set up a profile, and also a direct link to the Currys stores that are actually on the trial until the end of August, so people will be able to access them, and if they want to get involved, then get involved. Ultimately, and this is the sad bit, if it's not used, if we don't manage to convince Currys it's needed, then it will just get switched off. Now, I'm determined for that not to happen, and I'm determined for the reason that's not happening is because disabled people find out that actually it's useful, and guaranteed they will. I've just wrote a LinkedIn piece this morning with some of the feedback, and I'm going to read some of the results that we've had so far from some of the people that have used it. Let's just open this up. So we have had some of the following, and 99.9% people were like, wow, this is amazing. Thanks Currys for this lovely customer service. Another one, this is a fantastic idea and great excuse for me to treat myself to something new from Currys. My local store is participating. It led to me making a substantial and completely self-indulgent purchase, win-win. I would use this service anywhere. On arrival to the store, I didn't even get a chance to press the arrival button. They were meeting us at the door and straight away knew our names. He was obviously very knowledgeable in the technology and how it can help me, because we obviously had a chance to study it before we arrived, if you've asked for something. I must say we were in there for quite some time, very knowledgeable towards accessibility. I couldn't fault them. They ended up buying a keyboard and a mouse. It was amazing. A great experience with Currys PLC and their new use of Welcome. The staff warmly welcomed me when I first entered the store and even remembered me when I returned the next day. A massive shout out to Currys for offering Welcome. This service is fantastic. So that's just some of the feedback that we've had so far. So I'm convinced that if we get the opportunity to show people what it can do, we can let businesses like Currys and Levi's and all the other ones that are out there know that they can be better, and it's not just down to the individuals and them hoping that that individual understands what to do. Lots of information there, Scott. I hope that it's clear. I know that we can share information, but this is your service, folks. I'm just desperate to help you get the best customer service.
So one of the questions that, from Caitlin, and she said you might have covered this, but how do people then request a service uses Welcome? So can you go over that again, sort of step by step?
Yeah, for sure. And we're in lots of parts of the country, but not by no means everywhere. We've got a heat map of all the different parts of the country, but there are certain areas where we do not get anything. Northern Ireland, we've only got one venue. Wales, we haven't got any venues at all yet. So the way to do it, within the app you can go to, or rather on our website, you can go to or within the app, you can go to help. Actually, what I'll do is I'll just share my screen again very quickly. Share screen. Share. Okay, so we're going back to the right hand side. This is my profile, the 3 lines at the top right hand side here. If I go down here and go to help links, I can request a new venue. That is really just taking you to our website where you can then fill it in. So you could go through our website, which is well-co.me. You can put in your name, your email address, the subject, and then you can put in, I think IKEA in Bristol should have this. Now that will come to me, and then I will contact IKEA in Bristol and say, hey, we've got somebody who wants this. However, if you were also to put on X, Twitter X, if you went, oh, I've heard of this new system, I wish they had it in Bristol in IKEA, and then tagged in IKEA, that then starts the ball rolling. If you were to speak to a local MP or a councillor and say, I think they should have such and such a system, that is all going to help. Ultimately, I believe, and I know you will all believe in nothing about us without us, I want people to dictate where we go. Up till now, The majority of the people who've bought it are people that have come to us and said, we need that because it's useful. But I would love it. Let's just imagine for a second we had a disability group in Bristol, we'll go Cornwall, Penzance, and they said, let's find 10 businesses in Penzance who should all have this. Council, swimming pool, library, local supermarket, and then 50 people in an access group in Penzance went on social media. Very soon, those companies are going to be contacting us and saying, look, we've heard about this. In fact, they won't shut up about it. Can we find out more? One final thing, I'm sure there'll be other final things, but something that's worth pointing out here. The business model for this is that the venue pays a monthly subscription, and it's as little as £60 a month. So venues get this for next to nothing. If this was in a coffee shop and they had 5 people using it, they're easily going to get their money back, but also make sure all their staff are a bit more disability aware. And also for disabled people who are just using the store or the shop, they're going to be making money from those people. The proof here is that if you can prove that somebody can access the Purple Pound, when push comes to shove and they're looking for things to cut, they will not cut the things that are financially viable. We all know that when a company looks down and goes, oh, it's getting a bit tight around here, what can we get rid of? They will get rid of the nice to haves first. And disability services generally in the past have been nice to haves. Corporate social responsibility, and wouldn't it be nice if we can prove that disabled people using a service can spend money, or in the case of the NHS, get better service and are therefore happier customers, then we can make sure that they don't get rid of us. And that's ultimately future-proofing this so that when I'm no longer around, and 10, 20, 30, 100 years from now, well, maybe not 100 years, but certainly 20, 30, 40 years from now, this service just keeps running.
So Sandra has just asked a question. It's actually one that I was sort of thinking of as well. Is there a sign that businesses can display on their doors? Was actually what I was thinking of, but she's also put all websites to say that, yeah, we use Welcome.
Yeah, so it's a great question. When we first started it, Sandra, we would have stickers that go on all the doors. And eventually we stopped doing that because we were having to pass the cost on to the business. And it's not much. I mean, a sticker wouldn't cost much, but you're never guaranteed that they're going to display it. I would like to get back to that one day, and I think that should be something that they have. Certainly on the websites of the people who use Welcome, they display it on their websites. And we always, because we generate interest in disability awareness, so if we look at their website and their accessibility is right down the bottom, we say top left, put your accessibility stuff top left, because that's where screen readers are, that's where people want to see it. And if they click on that and they get to a page that says Welcome, then that's absolutely fantastic. But yes, promotion is a big part of this. We've relied on word of mouth for too long. And as we get bigger, we'll be able to do things like that. I'm very keen to have more window stickers. But as I say, I worked for Guide Dogs for the Blind, and how many times is there a window sticker where it says Guide Dogs allowed and a security guard says no dogs? It just seems to happen too much. So I wanted to focus on people really offering the service. But yeah, if you sign up to my.well-co.me, you get a full list of the venues that are on the platform as it is just now.
And then Sandra's also put, and I'm jumping back like a few messages here, but she's going to be doing quite a bit of travel for a new role. And then in a different message before that, she put, I'd like to see all rail companies using Welcome. And actually, you know, people have still got to get to the venues. So rail companies are quite a biggie. And are you with any rail companies at the moment?
Yeah, so it was launched with Derby Station, with East Midlands Rail. And I was very aware with rail companies and airports, it's not just about arriving at the station, it's then the ticketing and the seating and what happens when you get to where you're going. Now, Google can't provide a solution that does all of those things. We're very aware of what Passenger Assist does as far as making sure getting people into their seats and things like that. When we spoke to Derby Station and East Midlands Rail, where we focused was, and this came from me as a mobility instructor, was the ability to go to a station even a week before you travel, so you meet staff, you get to know where the toilets are, you get to know where the shops are, you get to know where the platform is that you may be going to, and then when you turn up on the day of travelling, that you're actually already less anxious. But when it comes to the entire journey, getting all over the place, there's a real challenge for us to do at this stage, because it's even just if we did that, that would take up all of our time. So we wanted to make sure that when people arrived somewhere, somebody could meet them who could then meet their needs. So that was our main area of focus. I think one day in the future, a lot of these solutions, so your review sites like Sociability and Ewan's Guide and Snowball, they would all come, I hope one day will all come together under one banner, into one solution. Access Able, Passenger Assist, Welcome, all of these solutions, this is my belief only, all come under one solution. But that takes a lot of work and a lot of hard work, but that's the vision. That's my dream one day.
Yeah. So someone who's listening to this now, they want to find the best way to use Welcome. Is it best to go on the website? Is it best to download on an app? What is the way to do it?
So there's no download. It is only the website. If you go to if you go to well-co.me or my.well, you've got it on the screen there. Scott's put it on the screen. If you go to my.well-co.me, you can sign up. Once you've signed up, then you've pretty much got access to everything everywhere. And from there, it's possible to do anything. That said, there's a couple of videos that I can let Scott share, which is how to set up a profile. It's quite easy and straightforward. That said, the video can be useful. And also a couple of videos of people using it so you can see how to use it. I would say one of the things that I'm really keen to do is for this in the future to be able to be utilized by a family member who's supporting a disabled person. So a parent of a child who they're wanting to become more independent. So when they go into a shop, and I know how it is right now, the parent speaks to the staff member speaks to the parent hands over the money, the child just sort of stands there and just sort of allows that to happen. Using a system like this in the future, I want to be able to say, instead of going, it's not me that's buying it, it's them, which is what happens. Walk into the shop, the staff member already knows it's Johnny that's buying something, and they go, Johnny, pair of shoes, I've already got a couple of different colours for you, let's go and have a look at them now. And I haven't even made eye contact with the mother because I'm talking to the son. And that can be the same for somebody who's living with dementia, with a parent or a son or whatever who's with them, or it can be somebody who's with a PA, whatever. This is your ability to say, it's me, not about the person that's standing next to me. But yeah, the way to use it is my.well-co.me. I have got a link that takes you through to the Currys stores directly so that you'll see all of them. And I will share that through Scott's social media platform later. Please log into that if you're in London, because we need you. I beseech you. This is important stuff, and I'm really keen to get your feedback. Please go along. If you think it's rubbish, tell me it's rubbish, but tell me how I can prove it, because I don't want it to stop existing. I want it to just get better and better and better.
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll put a post on the forum on the All for Inclusion app, and also a blog there as well, so we can put all of the welcome sort of videos, help videos and things like that there. So one last sort of question that we've had come in, again from Stephen Archer. Can this be done in reverse? So can this also be used to support people in their homes that are visited by officials?
Oh my God, yes, yes, why not? I was asked this question very early on by, I think it was Scottish Southern Electric, because the amount of times that somebody's reading the meter or something, turns up at a house or fixing something, it can't yet, but I'll just specify that now, but it's been something that we've been thinking about. So person's in the van outside, they get out of the van, they go up to the door, they ring the doorbell, nobody answers the door, they get back in the van, they move away and they go and have something to eat or a cup of coffee, and then treat that as extra time in their day. However, the person on the inside of the house might be a wheelchair user. They might have had to get out of bed to get into the wheelchair in order to get to the door. If we can let that staff member know before they go in how best to help the person, how much time they might need to allow, yes, why not? And people have asked us that question before. The other one we've been asked is about our call centres. How could we not phone a call centre and know that the person already understands that we might be hard of hearing? Or how do we not let them know that we might need the background noise turned down, or simpler word patterns, speech patterns, anything like this? So there's lots, but we can only deliver that as we become more successful with our core, which is when you go into shop, venue, hospital, doctor's surgery, betting office, pub, how can we improve the level of customer service that somebody's given, and whilst empowering the disabled person to be in control of that relationship?
Awesome. So we've spoken a lot here about welcome and, you know, getting back to that challenge. We need to get people in Curry's stores,
Yeah, Curry's.
hopefully in London. I've got the website up there again for people to be able to have a look themselves. Gavin, I think you need to go through the comments on LinkedIn afterwards.
I 100% got them all in front of me.
Perfect. There's some people on there who are looking for demos, so that's awesome. So if you've watched this on LinkedIn, hopefully it's been good viewing. I know Sandra, Stephen, Caitlin, Andrea, who else have I forgot? Nana, have all put messages on there. If you've watched it on Instagram, unfortunately my technology didn't kind of come through well. It's the first time using this software, so we'll get that right for next time. But yeah, please support Gavin the best you can. You know, like I said, I will make sure that there's like a central hub when it comes to all for inclusion, that everything is on the app in one or two places so people can go into it. Then if Gavin's got any more news of things that are sort of coming up, he can add to it as well, so people can just stay up to date when it comes to
Brilliant.
welcome.
Thank you, Scott. And may I
Yeah.
just add that just my congratulations on the All for Inclusion Awards. I know everybody here has probably voted already, but there's some phenomenal people on there, and you've done you've done such amazing hard work on pulling it all together, and good luck to everybody involved. It's fantastic, and well done for all the work that you and your team do, Scott. It's amazing what you've achieved.
Awesome, thank you, Gavin. Yeah, no, that's really nice to hear, and yeah, the awards will be face to face in Manchester next year. We're in the National Football Museum. That's all
Wow.
confirmed, and yeah, that will be quite interesting.
That sounds like a new welcome venue. Manchester needs some more.
Well, yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. We'll see if we can get you in there. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and